Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Along the Way podcast. My name is Lydia Kyle and I am so glad that you are here for another week. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit follow. Thank you so much for hanging with me while I figured out the audio things. This is the first season of the Along the Way podcast that is on YouTube as a visual, and I would like to thank my sponsor, Inappropriate Trucker Hats, for that. Every single week I have a new Inappropriate Trucker hat, and you guys can go into the description of this episode and you can get a 25% off discount on any of their products, including custom hats. But thank you for hanging with me on the audio issues. Hopefully they're getting better. This is my first time doing YouTube. It's not my strong suit, but we are figuring it out along the way. I said this on the last episode at the very end. I recently just learned that it's actually more helpful for y'all if you're feeling benevolent and generous. It's more helpful if instead of just liking and following and sharing the podcast, if you're listening to it on audio on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you will download the episode, that's actually something that matters more to the analytics. That's what pushes it out there into the world. So if you've already liked, you've already subscribed, you've already followed and done all the things, thank you so much. Leave a 5-star review. It would mean so much to me. But also download the episodes when you listen to them. And that's going to get the Along the Way podcast out there into the world. So after we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, those of you who are watching on YouTube are going to realize that my choice of hat today from Inappropriate Trucker Hats is very fitting. It's not the whole point of the podcast, but I got this hat for a reason. And it is something that I have experienced my entire life, and I have learned to handle it differently. That said, I didn't really handle it well when I was younger. Today, the episode is about things that I would tell my younger self, and I know that that can be really cliche. I know that can sound so cliche, like, oh yeah, you wrote a letter to your younger self to heal your inner child. No, not in that sense. I just wish there were some things that I had realized were and were not important when I was younger. And as a mom, I hope that it's something that I can teach my daughter. I don't know if I'll be able to do it super successfully because parenting is super hard, but these are things that I hope that I can instill in my children that impacted me as I was growing up. So I've never been shy on social media or on the podcast. I feel like I've talked about it before. I've never been shy about the fact that I was bullied. And was I bullied as badly as others? I don't think it's something that we can compare. I don't think it's a measuring contest of well, I was bullied worse than you. If you were bullied and it had an impact on you, you were bullied. It's not something that we have to equate. Are people bullied to the point of making extreme and life-ending decisions? Yes, absolutely. I was never pushed to that point. However, I was pushed to the point where in high school, my junior year, I contemplated graduating early, leaving school, and going to college early because I couldn't stand to go to school. Keep in mind, I went to a school with, I don't know, I think our graduating class was 52, and those 52 kids, we started kindergarten together in the same school district, except for maybe 3 or 4 people who had come later or people who had moved, whatever. It was within 5 people. We were the same group that started kindergarten together. That was the graduating class. So, can you imagine getting to the point where it's I don't even want to see you people anymore? And it was really just a few of them. It's not like it was this mass group of gang bullying up on me. No, or a mass group bullying me and ganging up on me. I can't talk today. It wasn't like that. It was really just a few people. But it had gotten to the point where I considered leaving. And I had gone to the administration. I mean, I will get to a point, don't worry. I just want to give a little bit of context. I don't want to go down memory lane here, so to speak. There was a Facebook group created to make fun of me. And this was when Facebook was really new. And so when I went to the administration to tell them that this was happening, I knew who had created it. I knew who was posting in it. I knew all of these things, and I provided the administration with that evidence, and they told me that it wasn't their quote unquote jurisdiction because it was happening online and they wouldn't do anything about it. Come to find out, one of the main contributors to that Facebook group was the vice principal's daughter. So that may have had something to do with that. But that being said, I had someone spit on me in a parking lot. I had someone who would drive by me every single day in the parking lot and yell obscenities at me. I mean, it wasn't fun. Like, it was not fun. Was I perfect? No, absolutely not. I was a brat. There were certain times where I probably deserved the treatment. There were certain times where I probably deserved some of the pushback. Did I deserve all of it? No. Did I deserve people to take it to the point where I felt like I couldn't go to school anymore? No, certainly not. But I wish I could go back and tell my younger self that literally none of it would matter 5 years from then. Like 10 years from then, 15 years from then. I graduated high school in 2011. Some of y'all are going to be like, oh my gosh, you're young. Others of all y'all are going to be like, oh my gosh, you're old. But I graduated in 2011 from high school. So I remembered my dad telling me this when I was a senior. I was miserable. I didn't want to be there anymore. Maybe it was my junior year, but I remember this very vividly. My dad told me, he said, the friends that you have now, most likely are not going to be your friends when you're an adult. You're going to go to college and you're going to meet the friends that change your life. And in that moment, I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, this tiny little town has altered my brain chemistry. Like, not that I want to stay here. Better believe I wanted to get out of there as fast as humanly possible. But I felt that that was all that mattered. And he was right. I went to college and I met my core group of best friends. Within a month of being there, I met my core group of best friends to the point where we are still best friends. We have been in everybody's weddings. We've celebrated birth. We've celebrated loss. We've done all the things. These are the people that I go to when life feels hard. These are the people that I go to when life is worth celebrating. These are my people. And my dad was right. But the other thing that I wish I could go back and tell my younger self is that it didn't matter because I wouldn't trade places with the people who made my life miserable. And this goes into adulthood too. Like, really, I haven't experienced a quote unquote bullying situation directly, but I've experienced people ostracizing me. I've dealt with the feeling of being excluded. I've dealt with all of that. I will say though, not since we left New Mexico. New Mexico was one of the worst experiences of feeling uncomfortable, unwelcome, and ostracized that I've ever experienced in my life. There were people who were intentionally trying to, learn about our lives so that they could go tell other people about our lives. We felt uncomfortable even in like our church setting. We felt that we couldn't be authentic about who we were or what we believed because we felt that if we said something wrong, it was going to be held against us or there was going to circulate through the community. So like that was part of one of the deciding factors of leaving New Mexico is we felt so out of our depth. Like we were so unwelcome. I mean, we had to pretty I mean, even our children's birthday parties, like people wouldn't come to our children's birthday parties because like we weren't from there. And it was really uncomfortable. There was one person in particular from there that I felt like I really wanted to be friends with that person, but I could tell that they were so disingenuous that it made me so afraid that everything that I said was going to be held against me. Everything that I did was going to be misconstrued or misinterpreted, and it was not fun. But the thing that I have come to realize with a little bit of hindsight, the thing that I've come to realize is I would not trade places with any of those people. The people from high school, the people from middle school, the people from, my most recent life. There's not a single one of the people who made me feel that way that I would want to trade places with. Does that mean that now granted I made a video about this on social media and it didn't I wouldn't say it went viral quote unquote, but it got quite a few views. where a guy posted a video and he was like, "So, what's your high school bully up to?" And I just laughed hysterically and I was like, "Listen, I no ill will, but like the results speak for themselves. Like the results speak for themselves." So, yeah, there's a little bit of a pettiness there in that, like, listen, I wouldn't trade lives with the people who bullied me in high school because I don't want their life. Like the results speak for themselves. Like, I have the life that I knew I was intended for. Is it always easy? Yes. Is it exactly how I envisioned it? No. But I have a beautiful family. I have a wonderful husband. I have a career that I love. I make an income that provides for my family. I have a husband who works hard and who loves me and holds me close at night. Like, I'm not going to trade with you. I'm not going to trade with you. The results speak for themselves. But the other thing is that even those people who just made me feel uncomfortable or made me feel left out or made me feel unwelcome, I don't want their life either. Like, I wish that my younger self could know that like you're going to get to a point where you look back on all of this and you're not going to want to trade. Cuz listen, when you're younger, I think there's a part of you that does want to trade. Like, you don't have enough, like your frontal lobe is not fully formed enough to be able to look at someone's life and realize that like it's not all roses. Like, you look at someone's life and you just assume that they have it better than you. Right? They're more popular, their parents make more money, or they have a nicer car, or they got asked to prom, or whatever. You just assume that their life is better than yours and you want to trade. I feel like if you can get to a point, even as an adult, like if you still struggle with this, I would ask yourself, do I really want their life? Do I really want their life? Would I really trade with them? And I can tell you, with my whole chest, there's not a single person who has made me feel some type of way in my life that I want to trade places with. And I really wish my younger self could know that. I also wish that my younger self, changing gears a little bit, I wish that my younger self would have been more risk adverse, in the sense of, I wish my younger self would have thrown caution to the wind in regards to money and opportunities and done more. And maybe that's just specific to me, but as I get older, and again, some of y'all are like, Lydia, you are not old. I understand. But as I have gotten older, I have this perspective of, you literally only get one life to live. And there were opportunities that I let pass me by because of, whether it was because of relationships, or whether it was because of finances, or whether it was because of, it didn't really make sense to do that. There were opportunities that I let pass by, or even just friendships or traveling or whatever. Like, there were just things that I was not risk aligned enough. So I get risk adverse means that like you don't want to take risks. So I guess I wish I was the opposite of that, because I was very level headed. I was very level headed. I was always very hyper aware. I was very, well, I've talked about this before. I'm very fear oriented. I'm very fear oriented and I'm very shame oriented. So I am always kind of thinking about like, what's the worst thing that could happen, or how could this reflect negatively on me? Not in a vanity sense, but in a shame sense. And that's something that I deal with. It's something I pray about, and it's something that God is working on in me. So it made me very risk adverse when I was younger. There were opportunities and risks that I wasn't willing to take because of worst case scenario. And so I wish I would have been a little bit more risk inclined, so to speak. I wish I would have done um, more. And that's not to say that I regret what I did. I did a lot of things. I traveled a lot. I was really involved. I got to see amazing places and I got to encounter amazing people. I just wish that maybe I had done more of that. And I also wish that I hadn't taken it for granted. As cliche as that sounds, I really wish I wouldn't have taken some of it for granted, especially in college. One of my best friends and I, we recently went to lunch. So I'm fairly close to our college campus. I went to Texas Christian University. I'm within an hour's driving distance, and one of my very best friends, she lives right down the road from Texas Christian University, and the boys were out of town. Kenneth was off. He took the boys, and they were working on a fence somewhere, and so it was just me and my daughter. And she was like, "Hey, do you want to get lunch?" My friend did. And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Hey, do you want to torture ourselves and go be super nostalgic and go eat on campus or, next to campus at one of the restaurants?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I was like, "We can go walk around afterwards." And so we did. We went and had lunch at a burger place right next to campus. We had my daughter with me, and then we went and walked around campus. And it was parents' weekend at campus. We didn't realize that. Parking was a nightmare. But anyway, campus has grown a lot. It's changed a lot. Like a lot, a lot. It's not the same place. But as we were walking around campus, we literally just kept saying to each other, we were so stupid. We had no idea that we were living the dream. We had no idea that we were living the dream. We thought our problems were so big and our problems were so stupid. Like, we got to go to this beautiful cafeteria that served gourmet food. Like, we didn't have a fast food cafeteria on our campus. We had gourmet food. We had chefs preparing food for us. Listen, if you're going to pay for a private school tuition, you better get private school treatment. And we did. And we were very, very lucky. So, like, we had people who cooked meals for us, three square meals a day and snacks in between. And we had no clue. We had no clue how lucky we were. We were so stupid. We had a gym right on campus. We had people who cleaned our rooms. We had people who cleaned our rooms, you guys. We had no freaking clue. And we just kept looking at each other going, we were so stupid. We couldn't wait to leave. We could not wait to leave and start our grown-up lives. And we were so lucky. So when I say that I wish I wouldn't taken of things for granted, it's not that I didn't have enough opportunities. It's not that I didn't live it to the fullest. Sure, there were certain things I wish I'd done more of, but so much of me, I just wish that my younger self knew how good she had it, especially in those 4 years at college. And I think that that's a fairly normal experience. I think that's a fairly normal experience. I also wish that my younger self, and these last two are like, they're kind of intertwined. It has to do with romantic relationships, but it also has to do with just your expectations of other people. I wish that my younger self didn't expect herself from others. I wish my younger self could have come to terms with the fact a lot sooner that not everybody has the same values as you, not everybody has the same expectations as you, and not everybody is wanting the same things. Therefore, you're not going to get yourself from other people. And I think I kind of knew that, but it made me bitter and resentful towards people. Like, if I'm giving you everything, if I'm giving you my best, why are you not giving me your best? And I didn't realize that other people's best was not the same as my best. And I wish that my younger self could have come to terms with that sooner, because it would have saved me a lot of disappointment. And I also think that it would have saved me a lot of heartbreak, because I would have been able to look at certain relationships and realize that that person is not going to be able to give me what I quote unquote need. Granted, did I have any concept of what I needed? No. I talked about that in the podcast about my testimony when it comes to my faith. But I would have at least been able to save myself a lot of heartbreak, because I would have had a better sense of self-worth, and I would have been able to look at situations and looked at certain people and not said, well, as long as I give 150%, it doesn't matter if they only give 50. Or as long as I give 110, it doesn't matter if they only give 10%, because it'll all come out in the wash. And really, that's how I treated my relationships. A lot of times I ended up in relationships with guys who required a mommy figure to take care of them, and I was willing to do it. I was willing to do it because it made me feel valued. It made me feel loved. It made me feel like I was irreplaceable. But at the end of the day, I was very replaceable. My college boyfriend cheated on me the entire time we were together. Everybody knew it except for me. And it makes me sick to my stomach to even say that out loud, but literally everybody knew it except for me. I was so enamored, I was so dedicated, I was so loyal, and I was so convinced that I could raise this person up to be better. I could raise this person up to be the person that I needed them to be, that I was absolutely blind to the fact that they were cheating on me the entire time. The entire time. And I look back and there were so many red flags. There were so many instances where I pretty much caught them in it, and I just brushed it off. It wasn't real. I was I was delulu, you guys. I was absolutely delusional. But it boiled down to I didn't have enough self-worth to look at that person and go, "You know what? I hope your life works out for you, but it's not going to work out with me because you're not able to give me anything in return other than heartache and feeling like the only way that I'm worthy enough for this is if I give, and never get. Right? And now I look at my marriage now and I look at how involved Kenneth is, how intertwined in my life. Because I have an individual life. Kenneth has an individual life. We are a married couple, but like Kenneth doesn't read fantasy books, but Kenneth can tell you exactly what fantasy book I'm reading. He can tell you who my favorite characters are, and he can tell you why I like them. Why? Because he's involved in my life. That may be a flippant example, but it's important. It's important. I wish my younger self could have realized that it's okay to look at someone and understand I'm not in alignment with this person. I don't have to make myself be in alignment with this person. I don't have to try to manipulate this person to be in alignment with me. It's okay for me to just recognize I'm not going to get what is needed to have a healthy relationship, friendship, working relationship with this person. Therefore, I'm not going to be a part of it. And I think that's a people pleaser thing. So for those of you who are people pleasers, look at your own relationships and try to identify the ones where it doesn't work unless you're giving 150% because they're not giving anything. That doesn't mean that you need to be angry at them. There are certain instances where you probably have some righteous anger. Okay? But it doesn't mean that you need to retaliate. It doesn't mean that you need to get vengeance. It doesn't mean that you need to bring them low. It just means that you need to look at the situation and realize there's no possible way for this to come into alignment right now. And I have to remove myself because of that. And I have to find relationships and partnerships and coworker relationships that can be in alignment with where I am and who I am. And I wish my younger self could have realized that a lot sooner because I think it would have saved me a lot of heartbreak. And it also would have kept me from aligning myself with people who didn't have my best interest in mind. And also I think that goes back to the people who make you uncomfortable, the people who make you feel unpopular or unwanted. You're not in alignment with them. You're not in alignment with them. And I know that's kind of a woo-woo term, but like you're not in alignment with them. Stop trying to align yourself with them. Stop trying to make yourself fit. Stop trying to be bigger so that they can be less and it all comes out even. No, don't. Find the place where you can realize, I don't want to trade places with you. I don't want the life that you have. Therefore, I'm not going to let your opinion affect me. It's like when they say don't take financial advice from people who are broke. Like, it's the same concept. Don't compare your life to someone whose life that you don't actually want. Don't let someone's opinion of you impact you in your core, in your soul. Don't let someone's feelings about you impact you and damage you when in reality you wouldn't ask their advice for anything. Right? I wish my younger self would have realized some of those things a little bit sooner. But you know what? It got me where I am today. I'm proud of my younger self. I'm glad that my younger self had the experiences that she had, even if some of them were hard, even if some of them were hurtful, because at the end of the day, it's got me here. And those are the things that we learn along the way. And that's why this podcast is called the Along the Way Podcast, because we are all just learning how to do life along the way. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Along the Way Podcast. You guys, if you are watching on YouTube, Thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, share this. You can find my contact information for all of my handles on social media, so you can send me a DM. You can tag me if you share this. I would absolutely love that. And as always, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review if you're feeling generous. And again, please download the episode. Please download the episode. And also, the handles are in the description of this episode, so you can tag me if you share this. I love it when I hear what you guys are thinking about the podcast. And thank you to my sponsor, Inappropriate Trucker Hats, for all that they do, for all of the humor and the good feelings and the good vibes that they put out there into the world. You guys go check out Inappropriate Trucker Hats. You can follow the link in the description of the episode and use the code Lydia25 because you will get 25% off your entire order. Not only do they have the best selection of trucker hats and custom hats and gifts, both gag gifts and real gifts, not only that, they have the best prices. Becca has the best prices. These boutiques are selling hats for $40, $50 for trucker hats like this. Becca's prices are the best. Go see for yourself. You will not regret it, and use that 25% off. I will see you guys back next week.